Well, yesterday we picked the man card and I had a little bit of a look at it and I've coloured it in and you'll see this is what it now looks like. And I found myself just a few minutes ago picking up this guitar and playing this song for you, which of course is named Man. There's only one song of the great man, the Hoochie Coochie Man. I can see his face but I can't think of his name. Anyway, his song. And it's funny because I haven't played this song since the 1990s. I used to play the song at the Iron Pot Cafe. We used to do a jam night and we'd always play this song, I'm a Man, at least once, maybe twice during the night, and somebody would get the job of singing it. I often used to sing this song because it was one of the few songs that I could manage to sing at that time, seeing as it kind of didn't go anywhere. It just like went over, round, round. And so it was interesting to play it again for the first time in I don't know how many years, 30 or 40 years, something like this. Okay, I'll put the Man song on. Born about the time of 5, I had love in my pocket, kept a lot of folks alive. Now I'm a man, I spell M A child N. Well, I think I told you that my lady was a member of the Anthroposophical Society before she gave up all organizations. And during her time there, she learnt a subject called biography arbeit, and she's a master of this. And she helps other people do biography arbeit. And biography arbeit means like biography work of the biography of the subject, the couple and the individual within the couple. Yeah. And so she'll, I think, agree with me if I had to say that what I'm doing here with these videos is also a kind of biography arbeit, because I'm going over my life and I'm finding pieces of my life I haven't looked at for ever, and it's a very good process to do. And it's like an autobiography, really. It's what these cards are, yet they're an autobiography with a lot of wisdom in them. Everything that I learned in my life is in these cards, and I'm probably making them now because if I leave it any longer I might just lose interest, and you get to a certain age when you're not allowed to do this kind of thing. So I'm doing it now. And The biography of a man begins on the day zero. And the moment of birth, right? And it's funny, when I made this video, the man song, the first video was the man song. When I made this video, it came up in here and it said video number 00000. Because you'll notice that I was getting stuff chopped off in my previous videos, so I didn't think about it much. I just decided to format my card after the last video, and I've forgotten about that. And so when you format the card, it kind of goes back to the beginning again. And so by chance, there's nothing that happens by chance, you know, there's no coincidences in this world. Everything is a sign from God to say, I exist. That's the way we know that God exists, because there's a sign. And when a lady gives birth to a child, I think that must be a sign. The biggest sign a lady can possibly have that God exists, you know. Goodness me, God just like landed up in your lap, yeah. Because God is the image of man. God is man. There's no difference between man and God in its ultimate form, okay. And because the Spirit lives forever, nothing is destroyed in the universe. The original man, Adam and Eve, it was made from God. God breathed the life into man, and so when he breathed the life into man, man became a little God, okay, and he's on this planet, and he's going back to God. His journey is to go back to God. Yeah, he comes in his birthday, and he goes back to God. And so, if I had just seen the word man and I hadn't played this song, well, I wouldn't have known that we were talking about the first day of my life, 0000. And so the song is really about that, because the song says, I can't remember what it says. What did the song say? What does the song say? On the 7th hour, on the 7th day, on the 7th month, 7 doctors say I was born for good luck. This you'll see. I got $700 in my pocket now. Don't you mess with me. Well, I didn't expect that. I thought it would give me the words. There's a bit more words. The 7 doctors say, yeah. Because on the day I was born, I just about died, yeah. Because I had a problem with my my food pipe and my windpipe were joined together, so if I ate anything, it would just go straight into my lungs, and my lungs collapse and so on. So as soon as my mother tried to feed me, that was it. I was finished, yeah. So I was a breatharian. And they got hold of some doctors, and they phoned up. Well, I don't know how they did it in those days. How they didn't have a phone, things like that. I don't know how they got hold of the hospital. Anyway, the hospital said, if he's still alive in the morning, bring him in. I just happened to be alive the next day, and they took me into the hospital, Davy Hume Hospital in Manchester. And yeah, there just so happened to be, just by chance, a visiting surgeon from America, and he was the only person who'd ever had a go at this operation that's required to do this. And he was here giving lectures, and so they said, look, we've got somebody here, do you want to try your operation on him? And I was the first successful case for this operation in the UK. He had done another one or two. I think he was from Canada or America, something like this. And so an American saved me. But I don't know whether it's a saving really, because they can't put a child like that under anaesthetic and stuff, otherwise it just died. Just like it was 2 months premature, just like a tiny little thing like this. Yeah, had to cut me open, do all this stuff. So I don't know. I have no memory of it. That must have been horrific. But they said, after having all these experiences, they said about me, they said, you looked at me in the incubator, and I was like these shining blue eyes. I've just had this tremendous, terrible experience, and now I was looking good. And so it's funny, because anything bad like that, it takes it out of you, and you become purified in the process, yeah, of pain and suffering and all that. Okay, so it's a bit of a biography arbeit. So I'm a man. I became a man. Yet when I was a child, I used to suffer a lot. Yeah, I used to suffer a lot, because I think what happens is you get a few steps up the ladder on the great chain of being. If you go through difficult experiences like trials and tribulations like this as a child, I was already elevated, because I suffered all this. I was already elevated to a higher level than a child like this normally would be. And then I spent like 6 months in an incubator. So I didn't touch my mother, didn't hear any sounds, and I was like kind of like had a weird beginning to my life. Yeah. And so how this affects a person is unknown, really. We don't know, and it's not normally right to do this with a baby. Yeah? It's not right. It's bad karma, yeah, to do this with a baby, because the baby's supposed to die, or you're just not supposed to suffer it. So feed it and see if it's suffer it to live or not live. Yeah. So they interfered with me, really, and I would have rather they let me die than that. And if they'd let me die, say I died on the second day or something, or the third day, something like that, that would have been all the karma that I had, just to come to earth, just to suffer that little bit and go back to heaven. Yeah. So I must have had very little karma when I first arrived in the world. Yet anything that happens to you, if something bad happens to some little tiny child like this, then the karma is on the person who does it. And so, I mean, my mother's partially responsible, but she didn't know what they were going to do, and she didn't know what was wrong with me. Once she put me into the organisation of the hospital, that was the end of it, yeah. And so the karma was on the American surgeon who decided to do this thing with me, because, you know, they used to do these operations for ego purposes, you know, because, oh yeah, look what I can do, yeah. So it's wrong, really. You shouldn't really interfere with children like this who are dying. You know, all you do is you just make more karma. You make karma for yourself, yeah. And of course, I don't know what happened to that surgeon, but I'd be interested. Be interested to find out what happened to him. But he must have caused a huge amount of suffering in this little child. Yeah, must have caused huge amounts. And the recovery process as well. And so they used to take me back to the hospital regularly. They wanted to see me, and they used to stand me up in front of an audience and take my clothes off and show the people what he did and all this kind of thing. In the end, my mother wouldn't take me. She said, "No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put him through that." So she stopped taking me to the hospital. That was the end of it, really. And so this man got the big karma and created karma for America, yeah. And that's one way of looking at it. The other way is that I was meant to do all this anyway, and so it was all my karma. My whole life was my karma, which is probably a better way of looking at it, actually. So we don't know, though, do we? Because it's against nature to do this sort of thing to a child, really. It's against nature. And anything that's suffering, you should put it out the misery, yeah? That's all it is, yeah. Death is good, in some cases. I would have rather been put out of my misery than have to go through all that stuff. And to live the life I lived was terrible suffering when I was a child, because by elevating me through all those initiation steps, all those trials and tribulations, when I got to school, I was like a philosopher, and I was a righteous lawgiver, and I had to discipline the children and stuff like that. And they used to call me a fighter because I wouldn't stand for any evil. I wouldn't stand for it. It was really funny, really funny. And so I had a very, very difficult life, and people bullied me and ostracized me and things like that. And this carried on until I came into the light and began my journey back home. Okay. Now let's have a look at the card. And so for the first 40 or 50 or so years of my life, I was just on this path right here, which is going away from the door. This is the door to the elect of God. Only the elect of God get through here. And otherwise we're moving away from it, yeah. But we can start to come back through here. You'll see we come back through here. We have some difficult tests, and then we get back onto the blue pathway. We're now walking towards the door. And so there's many, many steps on the way, and these are different positions on the great chain of being. And some of us are going down into fallen, lower fallen states, and some are going even worse down to demonic states. These are the people drinking alcohol and taking drugs and heroin, and all the people suffering, the homeless on the street who are drugged up, not the homeless priests of God. They don't need homes. They just need to be allowed to walk the world. Okay. And so those are the people who got through the doorway here. Okay. I'm going to take 5. Okay, so let's have a little look at this card. And okay, now this step here, right, now because I've gone all the way up through these higher levels of steps, I'm on this level now which says I am the door. I am the door. And what the door is I'll sit down. There's a whole card about the door. But what the door is when you get to a certain level, you produce great works, writings and teachings and stuff like that. And then those teachings become a necessary prerequisite for those people passing through the door into eternal life. Right? Eternal life is the door, yeah. And if you get to the door and you haven't done the work, you haven't studied all of the stuff that's required, and it's my stuff and it's all sorts of stuff, it's all sorts of other old teachers from the past, all their works as well, lots of stuff to read and study. If you haven't studied all that stuff, And if you follow the will of God, you will have studied all that. But if you don't follow the will of God, if you're following your own will, you'll never make it. You'll never make it. And so, if you followed the will of God, you studied all my stuff, okay? And you studied everybody else's stuff. So when you get to the door, God will say to you, "You are my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." Yeah? And you won't even know, you will never meet the door, because God says, "I never knew you," and you don't know where God's door is. You'll never find God's door, because God doesn't know you. Yeah, and so God needs to know you and carry you to that, on the will of God, through all those steps on that blue pathway, on the blue or this blue bit here, to get you to the door and give you the big message that you're His son or daughter. Now, what I'm talking about is the man's journey, because I'm a man. I spelled M, not W, not L, not lady. I'm a man. And the man's pathway is the man's pathway, and it's not the same as the lady's pathway. And if you want to know the lady's pathway, you better ask Elizabeth, because she's the one who's done that journey. And I know my mother did that journey, some of it. Not all of what Elizabeth's done, but some of the journey my mother did. And I know other ladies who've been on the journey. And so, but I'm not going to say a word about it, because it's not my position to teach ladies. Okay, ladies teach other ladies. That's the way it should be, because otherwise we'll teach the ladies a lot of nonsense if we think it's the same pathway for all of us. And that's what the Christian church has done. They taught the ladies exactly the same as the men, and it's not true. It's not the same journey. Okay. Now, when you get through that doorway, you're just a baby in eternal life. You're just a baby, because all it means is that you're guaranteed to carry on through here. So you become a slave of God. Here you're a servant of God. After this you become a slave of God, and you can't then fall off. No, I'm wrong, I'm sorry. You're a servant of God here. And only when you get past this place here, it's good that we have this diagram, do you become, see, this is like the order of Melchizedek here, the M. This is when you become a slave of God, okay? Over here. Because you can fall out. You can say no and fall out of the doorway down the demonic side here. The red is the demonic side. This is the angelic side. So this is casting out demons back into the world, out of the kingdom of heaven. And this is angels creating good works. So this blue here are these cards, the cards of Adamite life. They're a fruit coming out of this high level people here. Okay? And all these people doing this stuff are couples. You see here in the center here, there's two yellow golden things here. This is coming out of this is a couple. You have to be a couple to get into this section here. There's no people in here who are not divine couples. They don't exist. They'll be single down here. They'll be starting to be paired up, but they won't have finished their initiation into the divine couple. They can always fall off until they get to these steps here. Okay. And this is their work. This is their work to cast all the people who come up this way. Their work is to cast out, to do the works, and to cast out the dark side out of the kingdom of heaven. And it's their judgment on those people who actually that God uses to cast them out of the kingdom of heaven. Now, the kingdom of heaven is just the world. It's here. It's right here amongst us. We're not talking about somewhere in outer space, or we're not talking about another dimension. We're talking about heaven on earth. Yeah. And it's only when the elect die, you have to die in the state. You have to die in the good state. So these people also, when they're through here, they're elect. These people also, if they die single, these are couples. When they die, they're guaranteed. They have eternal life. Now that means that they don't have to come back here. This planet is a condemned planet, and all these people who fail and die, they all just come back here. Same old world, just got worse. Yeah. Now they've got robots everywhere, and you're not allowed to do anything. You know that if you do anything wrong, the robot just grabs you and takes you away, puts you in the robot prison. You know what's coming. Yeah. It's not going to get any better, is it? Yeah. So it's better to be part of the elect. The elect are, in the Bible, the elect are the 144,000 that go out together in the end time. Yeah. And so what an end time is there's cycles of time. There's end times all the time. Dresden, that was an end time. Yeah. The Palestinian people, they had their end time, didn't they? And many people died, and many of those ones that died would have been the elect, and they would have been going through their tests. Will you fight to the death? Now I'm in heaven. Yeah, I'm in the pastures of plenty. After a time, there's some time of purification, and then a rebirth somewhere else, on another star, in another galaxy, somewhere else. And the animals are waiting for us there. Yeah? The ones that go out in this time go out together. They end up reincarnating together in some new place. They don't know it's a new place. They don't know nothing about it. They're just like born, boom, here I am, together with all the other people there. Yeah. So that's the process of it. There's not much else, I don't think. We can try see if there's any of that song left. Line I shoot will never miss when I catch the ball. I can't resist. I'm a man. I spell them a child. Thanks for watching. Oh, we need another card, don't we? Okay, so we'll put the man card away, and the next we're going to pull the card for the next video, which I'll be making probably tomorrow. By now it's getting quite late. It's 4:40. It's about the time I stop. So this is what we're going to be doing tomorrow. Normally the ones where the card exists overnight, these are more interesting and more difficult subjects. So let's see what we get this time. Okay, so we're going to divide the pack, and we're going to put the rejects, the ones that we don't want, over here. And if you subscribe to the channel, you'll get the reading of the next video will come up in your feed. So you can do that if you like. if you feel like it. Okay, here we go. What is it? What is it? The the death and the dying. Okay. It's not a teaching card for the next video. This is a confirmation that God said. It's God talking to you, not me. It's Adam Eye of Light, the card of Adam Eye of Light. It's not me that's talking to you, it's the angel, Adam Eye of Light. It's very close to God. Okay? And the card is confirming that what Adam Eye of Light is saying to you about death and the dying and all that sort of stuff and the pastures of plenty and all the rest of it is all true. It's confirmed. This is a confirmation card. So I'm not going to do anything more with that. I'm just going to put it back in the pack. Not back in the pack. We don't need that anymore. We've done death and dying. We're not going to do any more of that. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick another card for tomorrow. This one. Okay. The Grail, Master and Maiden. It's interesting, we talked a little bit about this in the card too. But we're going to talk some more about it, okay? We're going to make this a whole subject of a card. So, and it's already coloured in. How did that happen? How did that happen? It's already coloured in. It's a nice card. I like the card. I remember now when I coloured it in, I did understand some new stuff came out. It's a beautiful card. A beautiful, beautiful card. Beautiful card. It's how to become that divine couple that we showed you in those higher level steps. And so I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. Thanks for watching.